Hey guys, can you hear me okay? Is this working? Is this thing on? There we go. Check it out. It's working? Awesome. Thanks, Lucky. How's it going? Welcome, welcome. Let you guys roll on in. Corinne, I still need to talk to you about New York. I'm going to be in New York on Saturday and Sunday. So I don't know if you can make it to the toy fair or not. Yeah, I'll send you an email. I'm so busy getting ready for this toy fair. I keep forgetting. I apologize. How's it going, everybody? No, it's not public, but I could probably sneak out for a lunch or something. I don't know. Hello, hello, welcome. Yay, participants piling in. All right. No, Tomas, I'm not on YouTube this time. And Tomas, thank you very much for the amazing testimonial. That was fantastic. Super, super cool. Super cool. So, and everybody, please, I would love to hear video testimonials from you if you can, even if it's on your phone. You're just like, hey, it's me, and this is what it's, this is about the course. So I would love anything like that from you guys would be fantastic if you could. Even if you have an accent, or even if you just want to do it in your native tongue, your native, whatever language that you're comfortable with, that's totally fine. I want to reach out and tell people around the world that even if you speak a different language, that this course still works for people. So anyway, hey, Jonah, let's see, Jonah, check your speaker settings. Okay, I'm gonna get started here. Let's see. I'm gonna share my second screen. Can you guys see this? Let me get back to my chat. And let's make chat big so I can see everybody's chit-chatty. Okay, so I'm just gonna show Jonah. So I don't think you guys can see this, can you? Can you see my little Zoom interface over my screen here? Can you guys see that? Steven, come on, man. Okay, you can't see it. All right, looks like they hide it. I was just going to show where the speaker settings were, but all right. Okay, so this is where we left off last week with sirloin. And let's see, and we have, looks like 30 people in here right now, which is pretty good to start. Hopefully more people pile in as we go. And you guys, there are settings up there. I mean, you can mess with your video and move it around, and you can show my my video larger, and you can hide thumbnail videos, all sorts of stuff. Anyway, you can mess with this stuff while I'm streaming if you have the app. I don't know if you can do that in the web browser, but you can definitely do it in the app. So, all right. Okay, here we go. So today I was just kind of looking over, every time I start a new session and I open up a character for the first time, I always look over him and go, okay, what's working and what's not? And what are some of the things that I'm probably going to need to address? So, and I wanted to tell you guys exactly what my thought process is whenever I start a new character like this. So say I sat down, and it's been a couple days, which it has. It's been a week since I worked on this guy last. And I've sat down, I'm like, okay, what's working, what's not? His hands will definitely need some work, but I noticed right away that his neck is nearly not long enough, right? His neck here, it's like super long, and in my guy, it's pretty stumpy. So we're gonna have to stretch his neck out quite a bit and make it work. Another thing is, let's get this guy, my little green pointer, his boots, they're currently going like this, right? See that angle? They need a third angle in there. So see, his boots are going like this. then like this, then out. See that third angle in there? I need to get that angle happening. So we have 3. Okay, so we're gonna do that. His neck is like a tower. It's huge. And that's what makes him so interesting, I think. Yep, and he does have an extra part to that boot that I haven't built yet. So that will come in after, but you need to have a good base in order to build the pieces on top of it. That's why we build from the bottom out. So, and it's not like we just throw all the pieces and parts in there and then adjust everything after the fact. We need to throw all the parts in there as we go. And we're not just throwing the parts in there. We're actually evaluating and saying, okay, now that the part's in there, is it working? And what do I need to adjust? Okay, so this is actually his foot. So let me hide that. So the actual boot, it might be throwing me off because I'm actually seeing his foot poking through here. So I'm going to delete that. I'm going to delete it. So let's see. I'm going to solo his body and delete the lower portion of his body, because as you build the clothes on your character, if you're confident about what clothes you've built, you can delete the actual body underneath because you're not going to need it anymore. Okay, so let's go like this, and we're just going to get rid of we're going to get rid of that, and we'll get rid of this ring, so it's a nice even ring around there. Okay, so let's just delete hidden, and now it's gone. And that's okay because we always have this is the 8th version of this file. So if I ever need to go back to the body, and if I ever need it again to build something else on top of it, I can always go back to earlier files and append it into my file and go from there. But for now, I don't need it, so I'm going to delete it. Okay, so now this is what his boot looks like from last session. And I know, let's see, what are you saying, Randy? When boots are on with the side profile, his ankles look like he's tilting forward as if he's ski jumping. Yeah, kind of. He's kind of leaning forward, but we'll fix that as we go. Okay, so I'm just going to adjust and try and get that angle, that extra angle in here. Okay, so that's what I'm working on now, and I want to add some volume to the toe. What's up, Eric? So did you guys all get my email today, my notification from the community that got sent out to everybody's email? I suppose so, since you're here. Okay, cool. Just want to make sure that's working. They turned it off for a minute. The ability to send an email out that is based on a community post, it's super nice to just go, I'm posting this and I want all the students to know about it. So there's a little checkbox to say, send out an email notification for all the members of this community that notify them that I just posted this. So pretty cool. No, I go to New York on Friday. So I'm headed out Friday. So there will not be a student Q&A this week, but I did want to get the student live feedbacks, or the student only live stream. I wanted to get it in. So that's why we're doing this today. Let's see. I want to combine that with this. So sometimes I need to find, I cannot wait for folders. Can I just tell you that? Folders, come on, folders. Okay, so here's the sole of the boot. I'm going to push it down to be above the heel. Oh yes, please put your chat to all panelists, or sorry, to all panelists and attendees so everybody can see your chat. Okay, so change your chat to all panelists and attendees. You have to switch that over. Okay, there you go. Otherwise, I'm the only one that can see your chat. I try to read the questions out loud so you guys know. Otherwise, it kind of feels dead in here. If you guys aren't chatting and bantering with each other, it kind of feels like, you know, tumbleweeds rolling across the desert plains. So, oh, yours was set that way when you arrived. That's cool. Okay. Let's see. So I'm going to merge this down. I'm merging the soul with the heel. Okay, I'm trying to decide. Yeah, I do. What I was thinking about is I was trying to decide, whoops, that's not what I wanted to do. I merged it with the straps, not the heel. I thought these were the, where's the heel? There it is. Okay. Let's merge this down. Merge down. There we go. Okay. So now I want to break these straps back off. Whoops. So let's split hidden. There we go. They're split back. Hey, what's up, Dennis? Who said, did I call you Stephanie, Stephen? I apologize if I did. Was there not a Stephanie in here? I swear. Okay, I'm sorry. Gosh dang it. Okay. Hey, there is a Stephanie in here. I'm not crazy. How's it going, you guys? All right. Okay, this thing is scooping really far down in. So what I want to do is just, while I have it here, I'm going to do an inverse inflate, which I need to turn spotlight projection off. I want to do an inverse inflate on, I don't know if it's going to work. I might need to mask off the outer edge. And how I can do that is with the Z modeler brush. I can do a transpose edge. I want to do the whole edge though. So edge loop complete. And so what that does is it masks off everything that's not what I selected, but I don't have symmetry on. So let's fix that. There we go. Now I'm going to inverse that mask. And now I can make sure that I only affect the interior of this area. And I basically just want to smooth this out and bring it up in space. So I just want to bring it up like this. A little bit more. It was just a little too scoopy. That's a name, right? Scoopy. Fix it. Okay. Less scoopy. It was just creating too much of a point, I think, on the edge of that sole there. Now, last week I was talking about how to get a nicer bevel on something like the sole of this boot. And you can do that with, it's called support loops or support edges. And that's like old traditional box modeling techniques or hard surface techniques in another program that's not ZBrush. In ZBrush, we have these creases, right? So what you can do is you can bevel these edges and create a support loops. So let's see. At what point do you give thickness to close? I'm trying this method and I'm not sure how long to keep it single-sided. So this is what I'm learning and I'm trying out with this guy in particular. This is a bit of an experiment for me, but I've been watching, I watch Dylan Ekron all the time, and he keeps his clothes single-sided for as long as possible. And the reason why is because it stays editable for as long as possible. It's really, really nice that way. And it keeps you from like going into the details too soon. That's kind of what this workflow is all about, staying away from the details as long as possible. You don't want to do anything until you know that your character is ready. It's funny. It's like until your character is ready to receive the details, if that makes any sense. Okay. Classception. I'm not in his class, and I haven't taken his class, but I would love to. But I know Dylan, and I talk to him all the time, and we just talk back and forth about techniques and stuff. on like Facebook Messenger and stuff like that. And I see him every year when I go down for CTN. And yeah, we just kind of talk about techniques and things like that. And sometimes he'll occasionally go live for just on Twitch and stuff like that, and I'll talk to him in there. So, and okay, cool. Don't you do it until you need more subdivs for details? Yes. So let me show you an example. Let me see. It's so Yao or Zhao, I'm not sure how to say his name, but Zhao Sousa, one of the students in the workshop. I don't know if Zhao's here. Yeah, Dylan Ekron. He works at Disney Animation Feature, or Disney Feature Animation. There we go. So Zhao's taken both this course and Dylan's course. And when he did, let me see, hold on a second. Okay. So he made this character with Dylan's course. Fantastic character. But as he was doing it, he doesn't have it posted here. He posted some of his work in progress shots of this guy. And one of the work in progress shots was a picture of this guy with all of his clothing as single-sided single-sided pieces of geometry. Even the pockets were single-sided. Everything was single-sided. And so he laid everything out and got all the volumes and everything first. Then he added the thickness. Then he added the details. And that was at the very, very end. So I wish he would have posted his work in progress on this guy. Let's see. Yeah, so most of these characters he did, you probably recognize them. He's done as part of the 3D character workshop. So this one he did as part of Dylan's class. So anyway, you can never stop learning. So I highly recommend Dylan's class as well if you're interested. It's just kind of harder to get into, and it's a more intense class. It lasts for like 10 or 12 weeks or something like that, maybe even 8. I don't know. You can check it out over at Mold 3D. Yeah, Donna, that's kind of the difference. And I'm adapting some of his techniques, but he talks to every student every week, that's where you get your money's worth with him. But you have to kind of dedicate time to it, So, like I said, it's a great course if you can have the time to do it. Okay, so there we go. And his foot is feeling a bit longish, so I'm going to push it back like that. Push this back like that. Does that make sense, Corinne? Did I answer your question? So I'm keeping this boot single-sided. I'm keeping these straps single-sided. These shorts, and well, it's shorts, pants, it's kind of connected, but it's still single-sided. And the chainmail, this is going to be different because this is single-sided, but I'm going to be using, I'm going to try nanomesh with this, where you can populate rings over the surface of the entire object. But I'm going to have to get my topology more even in order to do that. So I might have to go back in and add some more loops and just kind of even out the topology. So. Yeah, Anthony, I made the shoes in the last episode. So you can go to the character workshop community and go in there and look for the student only live streams, and you can see episode 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I think this one's 7. Oh, you did? Hey, Corinne, can you post that? Can you I don't know if you can post a link to it. Maybe you can right click and say open image in new browser. I don't know if Google Community allows you to do that though. So So Vinit, what are you talking about? The video doesn't play smooth, you think? In which where are you talking about? Okay. Okay, just making sure I didn't miss any questions. And if you're just joining us, make sure you set your chat to all panels and attendees in order to chat so everybody can see what you're saying, not just me. Okay. This guy looks like he's got a belly shirt. It cracks me up. He won't let you share it? Oh, dang. Okay, hold on one second. And Google Plus is going down April 2nd, so I need to try and get all of the stuff downloaded before they shut that thing down. Super unfortunate. Let's see. Okay. Oh, here it is. All right. So here we go. There you go. So this is, yeah, everything's single-sided right here, just laid out. But you can still do the wrinkles in there with it being single-sided. Does that make sense? So you can still start to add in some of the details, kind of the way it's going to go, but it's all, you can picture how it's overlapping each other, the tie, how it's tucking in, the collar, how it's laying out there like that, all of that stuff. And then you can get the really nice flows, making sure your silhouettes are looking good, all of that stuff before, you know, saying, okay, I'm gonna add thickness and add details. So I think it's a really good idea to do it this way. I don't think Dylan's been doing it this way very long, but I really wanted to try it out and see how it felt. So yeah, I think all the work's in progress. I think I'll try and I'll be able to save them all. I just don't know how I can, you know, get it out there again. I don't know where I can post it or whatever. The stream was a bit choppy for me when I joined via the web app. It's better now that I installed the Zoom app. Oh, okay, Scout. Okay. Yeah, I think the web app is good for people who are watching from work and they can't download any software. It's kind of the, you know, that's a way they can watch it, but like you said, it's probably choppy. I'm still trying to figure out a solution. I think this is the best one we can do is the Zoom here. But yeah, because YouTube is, like you guys have experienced, it's laggy and it's just, yeah. Oh, your work uses it for conference calls? So you should have it installed, right? Okay. Where was I? Okay, I'm going to add these straps on the top of the boot going around the back. Audio's good on all platforms? Okay. So to add these straps around the bottom and the back, actually now I noticed his heel is too stumpy. So I want to fix that really quick. Put this in auto groups, mirror and weld it. So he's got wonderful purple heels. And usually heels will come about this far. Because you're thinking about, he's got to support the weight of his foot on that boot. So I want to make it a little thinner so it's not so high-heeled. And then make it deeper, I guess. Let's see. Okay, I'm just resetting it to the world to see where it's at here. Now I need to turn on local symmetry to scale it. And then something like this. There we go. It's a little better, and maybe a little bit shallower. Something like that. So it's not so high-heeled. Hey, Ariel. Make sure you change your chat panel to say panelists and attendees so everybody can see what you have to say, please. Kind of a pain in the butt, but we have to set it so everybody can see what we're saying. Welcome, welcome. We got a good turnout today so far. Could be better, but looks like 43 people, not bad. I think once we get this regular and everybody gets used to showing up every Wednesday, it will be good. Yes, I did get one of those too, Eric. I just need to do it. I need to do it quickly. I've just been getting ready for this New York City Toy Fair, so I'm going to squish this down. I'm debating on how many of these what am I trying to say? These conferences and get-togethers and things like that, how many of them I want to go to, because they don't really benefit me that much other than I get to meet students sometimes. But I think I benefit more from just, updating the course and just staying home. I know that sounds horrible, but that's kind of what I'm thinking about. Now, last week I talked to you guys about turning up the toes of boots. So I'm going to do that really quickly. I'm going to turn up the toe of this boot. Let's get it like, I'm trying to change my camera so I'm looking across the plane of where that would bend. And then I want to bend it up. I'm just ignoring the actual geometry behind it. And I'm bending it up like this. And then masking it as we go. And then bending up the next piece. Whoops. I'll keep that toe. Just kind of kick it up like this. Then I'll grab the actual boot itself and adjust it accordingly so it matches. It's looking like his toe has gotten stumpy. So I'm going to pull this back so his toe gets sharper. It's not so stumpy. And then fix the sole to match. See, it's a constant back and forth. When I'm not streaming, like doing my Pixelogic live streams, it's this constant back and forth. When it's like I'll adjust one thing and then I'll see that it's changed something else and I'll have to go fix it. I don't spend this as much time when I'm doing my live streams as I do when I'm making an actual character. It takes me a lot longer, and I'm still streaming live for you guys right now, so I kind of feel pressured to not dabble too much. But when I'm actually making a real character, I dabble quite a bit. I do a lot of nudging. And so I just noticed that this edge was too steep. It was sticking out like that, like in this direction, the bottom of it. Pixel nudger. Yeah, so I'm also trying to be conscious of telling you guys what I'm thinking about while I'm doing these things and why I'm doing it, not just like, I'm just nudging, So I'm nudging because I'm trying to get that sole to be flat all the way around and not so steep. Okay, there we go. Same with this heel. I think this heel feels a little steep back here, cutting into the boot. So I'm just going to nudge it around so it's not so steep. Then it made it peek out from behind here. So let's bring that back to match. Okay. Yeah, when I nudge things, it's usually just the move brush. The move brush is your friend. So now I've made this go to, I'm just trying to make it match here. Okay, now let's get to yeah, the move brush. It's the one. It's the one. Okay, so now I'm going to turn off dynamic, and we're going to be seeing what this thing looks like under the hood as it were. Also, I'm going to turn object shadow off. Do you guys ever use object shadow? I put this on my user interface so I can actually see stuff in shadows. So you can see underneath this soul how it's really dark. And even when I turn it up like this, it's super dark underneath here and I can't really tell what I'm doing. So you just grab this object shadow and roll it to 0. And now I can see underneath there and see what's happening with my mesh. That's why that object shadow button is there. Okay, and I'm getting some, I always like to turn off dynamic once in a while so I can see what's happening with the real mesh. So then I can kind of clean it up. I can go in here and clean it up. So I want to kind of match these lines just so I know that it's cleaner here. And then if you swing around like this, you can see it has this weird kind of lump right here. So let's bring that up. And you can smooth it down and then bring it back again. Because smooth always evens out your geometry, which is nice. And I also like to do, with boots, the sole, I also like to try and go like up and then scoop it down. And there's a point right here, like right here before it changes direction and goes back up this way. So it's like the point where the sole hits the ground, and then from the feet walking and scraping, it kind of makes an edge across there. So I don't want the edge here. Let me see. See how it's kind of starting to make an edge down here. So we can smooth that out. And then I want to peak this one. Is that the best way to move a vertice? Yeah, just with the move brush. I wish I could do that in Maya. I guess I can when I go to the, in Maya, if you go to the, there's a brush system in there, and I prefer moving vertices this way because, yeah, just because it's like nudging. It's like painting with points. And then you can just go smooth it out and even it out. See how much more even that is? And then to accentuate that peak right here, you can pull down the edge. Just kind of make it work, and then go back up. Does ZModeler have a mode to move it? I think so, but I don't ever use that. I don't turn on ZModeler to nudge my points. That's not something I do. I just use the move brush because it's right here and I can just click it. And then just nudge points around. Okay. So let's add those support loops that I was talking about. Except for I keep seeing stuff. I'm like, oh, I got to even this topology out. It's looking weird. Sometimes when you smooth things out, it will smooth too much and you have to push it back a little bit. Yeah, there are spurs on there. I'll put them on in a minute. I just want to make sure that I want to get this heel looking like I want it first before I go. You don't want to jump the gun. You don't want to do things too early. And how do you know when it's too early or not? It's just like, it's a gut feeling. You're like, okay, does this look like I want it to look? Am I ready to put the next thing on there? So it's not like there's no like set, okay, you are ready, now it is time. You know what I mean? And even sometimes it's maybe you put it there too soon, and you can always go back and adjust it. That's not a big deal either. So, but just kind of take your time, go through it, and say, okay, do I feel like this is working? Is this looking good? Am I happy about this? Before going, okay, I'm ready to do the next thing. You know what I mean? It's not a production line, it's art. So you have to kind of be feely with it. Like, does this feel right? There you go, Stephen. That's a good way to put it. You try and wait until you feel like you can't do anything more at that level. That's perfect. Okay, so now I'm feeling pretty good about these the soles and the heels. I'm going to go put those support lines. So what I'm going to do is clear out the creases. I'm going to uncrease everything. So now if I hit D to turn on dynamic subdivisions, it's going to look like super smooth like this. Okay, and that's because I got rid of the creases. So now we're going to add the support loops. Now if I go to Z Modeler, I can do it one of two ways. I can bevel the edges, or I can insert edges along the sides here. Okay, so I'm going to try to bevel first. Sometimes it works, but sometimes it doesn't, because the area you want to bevel actually has a T intersection. This one, we're lucky with this one because it's going all the way around. But if it had a part where it diverted from the loop, then you kind of start getting into trouble. Okay, so I'm going to try and bevel this edge. You want to make sure you're on edge loop complete, and we're just doing a single row. So then we can just click and drag, and it'll make a little bevel on here. Okay, and you want to be about that far away. And then you can do the same thing down here. Just put a little bevel. Put a little bevel on it. Okay, now this is what I was talking about. This one diverges. So on the heel, I want there to be a bevel here and across the top. See, it actually went around the top this way, and I want it to go around this way. So that kind of introduces a new, a new kind of problem, I guess. But before I show you how to do that, let's hit D, and we can see now. Let me turn off our poly loops. See how that beveled edge is much nicer instead of super crisp. It's just cleaner, and it's going to give us a better normal map. Just all across the board, it's just a better edge right here. And then when you actually add more subdivision levels, it's going to make it even cleaner and not super crisp. You don't want it super duper sharp. Okay, you want it just to relax. And in the course, I teach you how to do this technique using crease levels. But crease levels are nice, but they're hard to manage. And actually putting in physical edge loops, you can visually see how far that bevel is and how far away, and you can go in there and you can adjust it. Whereas if it's a crease level, you can't visually see that crease level when it's just at its lowest resolution. So it's harder to adjust and edit. Plus, if you have a crease level of like 4 over here and 3 over here, and you need to adjust one of those crease levels, how do you do it, right? You have to, it's kind of an all or nothing per subtool thing. So this is a little easier way to manage your edges, your beveled edges. Okay, does that make sense, you guys? Okay, so I'm going to undo that, and there's another. So here's another way of doing this, and I'm going to isolate this heel now. Okay, and there's what we can do is we can inset. That's another way we can do it. So let's go to poly group, a single poly, and I'm just going to change the poly group around this back edge to be its own poly group like this. Yeah, it does, Keith. Yeah, so it's a traditional method that is typically used when you're box modeling. So it will translate over to Maya, to Max, to all of those other ones too. And sometimes, honestly, in here, it's difficult to get the bevels that are so easy to get in those other programs because you're using the Z Modeler brush. I'm not used to this as much as I should be. So sometimes I struggle. Sometimes I'll just pop it out and I'll just add my bevels over in Maya and bring it back. There's no shame in that if you know that it's going to work faster and it's going to get you to where you want to be easier. So, okay, so another way of doing it is just insetting a poly group. So I'm going to click here and click on inset. Now you have to do poly group all and then inset region. Okay, otherwise it's going to inset each poly. Here, I'll show you what it does if I don't select that. See this? It's going to inset every single polygon all the way around that ring. So you want to say inset region. And then what you do is it just insets it like this. So there's that. And then I want to go back. Let me see. Back to poly group, a single poly, and put another group along here. Actually, I don't want it that same color. So I'm going to click and hold. And now if I hit Alt a bunch of times, it'll change through polygroup colors. You guys see that? So I'm still holding on here with my pen, and then just hitting Alt to change to a new color. Now if I go along, it just assigns whatever color is that new color. That's how you get a new one. Then I can go here and do it again, say inset, and it already remembers my last settings. So then I can just kind of inset this one. And it will give me this new inset on this new version. Now I can do it to the bottom and to the top. It's already done. Looks like it's already done because it's purple. So both of these are purple, so it did it the same way. So now if I hit dynamic, I got to unhide everything, otherwise you don't see it. Now this is crazy because I have one extra line in there that I don't want. I only want a bevel of, I only want 2 lines together, and I made 3. Here, let me see. See how I have 3 instead of 2? That creates a sharper bevel along the edge. And it also, did it create? No, it didn't create n-gons, because I don't think ZBrush allows you to make n-gons. So anyway, you can kind of see some of the trouble you can get into. See this little guy right here? If I hit dynamic subdivisions, this is the result. It's not giving you a nice peeked out corner. You guys see that? It just doesn't, sometimes it doesn't give you exactly what you want. And these edges are super creased and the corners are not. And how I get around that, let me see. Like I said, I would usually do 2. Yep, n-gons. N-gon! Like Egon from Ghostbusters. Let's see. I'm actually going to go, I'm trying to think of how I would get a bevel around there without doing it this way. I'm going to undo this stuff. Go back to here and see if I can bevel around a poly loop or a poly group. I don't know if that's possible. I'm trying to remember how to do this. Because sometimes you just have to do it. You have to just go in there and do it manually by hand. Whoops. Okay, saving. I might just take it to Maya. You can insert edge. Yeah, that was the other technique I was going to show you guys, actually, was inserting an edge. And that's what I mentioned when I first started this, is there's a way to insert an edge. So I'll try it. Let's see. Insert a single edge loop. I can do that here and then here. But then I want one here. And that's going to put one all the way around the edge like that, which might work, actually. Yeah, let me just put one here. Oh, come on. Let's see what that looks like. Ah, there we go. Okay, that's better. Thank you. Thanks for reminding me. Sometimes I'm like, damn it, how do I do? Oh, no worries, Ariel. There we go. That's how you do it. I appreciate it. Sometimes when you're talking and you're trying to work through something, and then when you get choked up a little bit, you're like, oh crap, I'm totally lost. Where am I? What was I saying? What was I doing? And then if you're doing it in front of an audience, it becomes a little more difficult. Yeah, what's my name? Where am I? Who are you? Okay. Insert edges for fun and profit. Okay. Whoa. I just want to have a little bit of a gap between these two. Also, you can see that the edges on the heel are sharper than the edges on the sole, and I want those to be the same. When I got feedback from Zenyatta, from Blizzard, the most feedback I would get was on bevels, on beveled edges. They would be like, this one's too sharp, this one's too dull, make this one better, you know, all that kind of stuff. So yeah, let's go in here and just move those. So and the reason why they're sharper is because I have 3 loops instead of 2. Excuse me. Oh, itchy nose. Somebody's talking about me. Okay, so what I can do is I can go in here. I'm going to turn off dynamic, and I'm gonna move those loops away from each other, and that will loosen up that bevel. Okay, so I can go to Z Modeler, hover over an edge, and say slide edge loop complete. So I can grab one of these, and I'm pulling it away about, let's try about this far away. Do the same with this one, and the same with this one. Because you can get similar looking bevels with 3 lines instead of 2. Zenyatta from Blizzard is what I said. Senora? They say Senora? Zenyatta. Okay, so now when we hit dynamic, check it out. That looks better. That's a little closer. It's still quite sharp in here. And you can, now you can move and slide, well, you can slide these edges while it's subdivided, but it's a little more difficult to grab the edge. So that's all. Okay, let's move on. That's good. Looks like we got this heel is peeking out. Stop peeking out, heel. Can you guys hear my bird? I have a conure that likes to screech. Okay. Ismail, what do you do when you're working based on a single reference and you have no idea what's on the back of the character? You can do 2 things. One, you can go back to the original concept artist if you have access to that person, and you can say, hey, can you kind of show me what you had in mind for, say he was wearing a shield on the back of him or something like that. Could you do me a little detailed drawing of that shield so I can know what you were thinking for this guy? Or if you don't have access to that concept artist, you make it up. And you have to make it up based on what the front of him looks like, or the front of her, or whatever your character you're making. And that is where your artistic sense comes into play. And all you can do is do the best you can. So for example, Marcus just did that He-Man Skeletor one for the Creature Box student challenge, and he filled out all the information on the back just based on what the front looked like, just using his own kind of artistic intuition, and it worked out. So yeah, that's kind of where you have to make it up. And that being said, I would rather make it up than have a concept artist give me a front, a side, and all that kind of stuff. So with Zenyatta, they gave me concept art that was a 3/4 view from the front and a 3/4 view from the back. And the reason why they gave it to me is because he had a mitt that was hanging off the back of him. I needed to see what his pockets looked like on the back, and he had a different number and his name across the back. So I needed to know and what how the hat worked and how it clasped and everything back there. So they didn't give me a side view. They didn't give me a front view. They didn't give me a perfect orthographic back view. They gave me a 3/4 front and a 3/4 back, and that was perfect. I knew I had everything I needed to know from those drawings. So it was great. Yeah, so here, I'll show you guys. I can't show you the character itself. I wish I could, but Blizzard would come and shoot me. So hold on a second. can show you. So here's my art station. So I did this one right here. Okay, so yeah, they gave me all of the concept for his face, his hat, and all of these cuts in his pants and all that kind of stuff. And then they gave me a different piece of concept for his weapon, so I knew what the weapon looked like. I think here, let me see. Then concept. Let me see if I think the girl that did it. Yeah, here we go. Okay, so this is the concept I was given right here. Yeah, so she gave me that concept. Super awesome concept artist. Yeah, Ong Ding. I got to meet her. She was kind of shorter, super cute. But she is very, very good at doing these concept artists. But you can see the mitt hanging here. And the mitt was, that was probably the hardest thing to build. But on this shoe, you can see how it's kicked up on the bottom, like I was talking about. See how it's kicked up? And you can see the profile of the shoe right here. You can see the cleats and all that kind of stuff. And I basically, there's a lot of stuff that I had to make up as far as like how the wrinkles and stuff would go. But for the most part, this is what they gave me to work from. So yeah, it was a lot of fun. I hope I can do it again. Another skin, that would be great. Okay, so now we have the boot. It's feeling pretty clean, pretty even. Ismail, they did give me the original Zenyatta, so I knew his proportions and his, where the joints were and all that kind of stuff. I used a lot of the metal hydraulics and stuff in his neck, but everything else was all pretty much new that I had to build, because the original Zenyatta, let's see. So the original Zenyatta kind of looks like this. Let's see, that's a toy. So here's the in-game version of him. See how his head is completely different? I did start with these hands, but I completely reskinned them to make them look like baseball gloves. And the pants, they're different volume, and he has this belt that was different, and the body's different. A whole bunch of different things, yeah. I guess it's better to take the model to have good proportions. Yep. So, okay, you had the original and you built on top of it to keep the proportions. Yeah, that's what I did. Yeah, they sent him to me. So, good question though. Okay, let's get back to this. So his boot. Let's get these straps on here and the tip of his boot on here. Okay, so let me look at what this boot looks like, and we can use this boot to make the tip, or I could draw it on there fresh, like a brand new version of it. But since we already have the geometry there, we can just use it. So I'm going to duplicate this, solo it, and then I want to straighten out this geometry a bit with the move tool first. And just kind of get where I'm looking at this line right here, this loop right here, because I'm going to use that as the loop that will create the tip of the toe. Just make it straight. Let's chop it. So do you guys know how to hide an edge loop like that? A poly loop like that? If you have select lasso on, and you hold down Control plus Shift, and then hover over an edge and tap it, it will hide that loop like that. Dunk, 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 like that. Oh, I think I have, Mike. Oh, no way. I haven't. That's great. They're all stuck to him. Oh, that's pretty awesome. Oh, that's super cool. Oh, Randy, sorry, Shane, but is there a reason why you never work in perspective mode? I always feel like something is off when I don't turn it on. Okay, there is a huge reason why I don't work in perspective mode. And that is because if you are working and you're trying to work from the side, a lot of your selections aren't going to work like you think they should work because this is ZBrush and ZBrush does not have a real viewport. This whole thing is faked. This is a huge fake machine. And what I mean by fake is um, as long as you're not rotating your model, this is essentially a 2D image with Z depth. That's it. So have you ever noticed, like, when you're working on a model and you're listening to music or something like that, and your model is getting very, very detailed, and you go to rotate it, and then all of a sudden your music skips or something, or your machine goes, you know, that's because the only time your CPU gets hit with calculations is when you go to rotate your model. So that's why when you're sometimes when you're up close and you're on the edge of your model and you're painting or you're moving or something like that, and it will leave these little weird black traces behind, that's because it's trying to update the drawing, but it doesn't update until you rotate it, and then it'll reset it. Do you guys ever notice that? It'll reset the what the image is when you rotate it. And that's because ZBrush is fake. So that's why it can draw so many polygons. That's why you can work in the millions of polygons and it doesn't take a huge CPU or RAM hit because it's not real. It's just drawing a 2D image until you're actually working on it. So the thing is, with perspective is faked. It's completely faked. It's actually skewing your model, like physically skewing it in space. It's not taking a camera and adjusting the focal length. It's actually behind the scenes, and I would never say this on the Pixelogic live stream, just so you guys know. It's actually skewing your model, okay? So it's yeah, it's crazy. So and I don't know, they're working on the new camera system with the new update, the 2019 ZBrush update, and I don't know how they're doing that or what they're doing behind the scenes or if they're adding a real camera. I don't know, but just know that it's skewed. So what does that mean? That means, that's a long explanation for, if you snap something to the side like this with your camera and you have perspective turned on and you try to mask something, it's going to give you bad masking across through there because it's in perspective. Especially if you have your perspective set to the default settings. With my project, my settings, I specifically turn the perspective down to 29 so it's not as skewed. Because if it's very skewed, the default skewed, then when you go to select a mask through it, it's gonna make you cry. So yeah, it adds like a bulge effect. It doesn't really give you a proper perspective. So the only time I turn perspective on is when I want to check it, when I want to check the model for, like, what is this going to look like in perspective? That's the only time I turn it on. I never work with it turned on because I know it's being skewed underneath the surface, right? So I just work in orthographic for the most part. And then I haven't really had to adjust things too much when I go to perspective mode and say like Maya or Keyshot or something like that. I will scrunch the focal shift on, like in Keyshot. I will change the range so it's not in so much perspective, so it flattens it out just a bit, and then it kind of comes closer to what I originally intended to model in the first place. So. And you know, that's why I typically work in orthographic, just because ZBrush is weird. Okay, so there's my long answer. Yeah, hero. That's it. You got it. You got it. You heard it from me. But that's, yeah, ZBrush, when it was first created, it was a hobbyist tool meant for like, Ofer, he's the guy who dreamt this thing up. He is an artist himself, and he just wanted something that would make 2D illustrations with 3D elements. That's what he wanted. He wanted to paint with 3D elements. That's where this whole thing came from. So he dreamt up this 2.5D system that would put like 2D elements with Z depth. And that's why he called them like pixels or whatever he called them. So that's where that whole thing came from. And that is why these are called tools and not meshes, because they're tools used to create an illustration. And that's why it's got weird vocabulary associated with it, because when he made this, he did not intend for like Weta to pick it up and go, holy crap, you can do a ton of detail on the surface of this model. That is what took ZBrush from 2.5D illustration program to, man, this is acting really weird. Sorry. It's like sometimes it will just, see, I'm grabbing this dot, but it's moving this one at the same time. And I don't, oh, maybe it's because I changed my focal shift. I accidentally changed sometimes you accidentally hit spacebar and you'll pull up this menu. A lot of people are used to this menu and like it, but it's just an annoyance for me, because sometimes I'll accidentally change the focal shift right here, or I'll change the draw. Something will happen, and then it's like, why isn't my brush working like it should? Yes, Stephen, you got it. The Z depth, that's where the whole Z brush came from, Z depth. Yep. The clouds are parting, and now you're understanding and seeing, that's why. It makes so much sense now. The history of ZBrush is a weird one. I think my dog's trying to get in. No, Ariel, I just use the move brush typically to move vertices. If you're just trying to move one, you can just bring your brush smaller and just grab the one. And if you're having a hard time grabbing it, put it like, rotate your model so it's not overlapping the whatever it is underneath it. So just kind of get a different angle on it, or get a slightly larger brush. There's several things that you can do. And also the snake hook brush will affect it a little differently as well. Let him in. It's a female, and it's a beagle. A beagle. It's because my wife's gone taking my son to take his SAT. So usually she's got to be next to her people. Trixie, because she was born on Halloween, so her name is Trixie. Okay, so now we have the tip of our boot. Let's turn on, oh, let me make sure I delete hidden points. There we go. Okay, so here's the tip of our boot. Let's move this out a little bit more. And this is exactly how I created that Zenyatta shoe. Is just like this, putting in the parts, building it up, stacking different things just like that. Okay, grab this, let's move it so it looks like it overlaps. And the reason this is in a separate subtool, do you guys remember? Because it's made out of a different material. That's how you know how to split your objects off into new subtools, if it's made from a different material. Okay, this is crazy because his right boot looks like it has a big toe cover, and his left boot is like, I don't know what's going on with that, but I really like the look of this, so we're gonna go with that. The audio's acting up? Oh, great. Okay, hold on. Um, check test. Is that any better? It goes up and down. Okay. It's good now. Hopefully it'll chill out. No, it seems like it was happening to other people too. Okay. Sorry about that. Biting the wire. She actually did bite. She bit the wires of my barbecue outside. Like I have a little hot plate on the back, and she bit through the wires, and it was plugged in, and it shocked her. So she's never bitten another thing since. Uh, I think this toe thing is going one too far back. So I'm going to delete one row and then just go in here and just scooch it around. There we go. Okay, that's feeling better. All right, let's draw on those straps. In this one, let's see. Oh yeah, Ismail, if you guys are speaking, make sure you set your chat to panelists and attendees, not just panelists. That's down at the very bottom of your chat window. Make sure you switch it to panelists and attendees so we can see what you are typing, please. All right. So Lucky over on the Q&A says, hey, Shane, I'm trying to do a flow where I can caricature something faster while working on it. Have you ever broken symmetry earlier on the normal for a design and then kept working asymmetrically? Is that an okay flow, or for some cases? I found remesh by Z-remesher forces the design to be symmetrical while doing it, but normal Z-remesher doesn't. Yeah, so Z-remesher, you can just turn off symmetry for one if you're Z-remeshing, and then remesh by Z-remesher. If you don't pull that red cone out, if you just leave it in, then it will Z-remesh asymmetrically, if that makes sense. And the answer to that question is do whatever you feel like to get to your result. So, so basically you will want to, here, I'll show you. I actually have a YouTube video of me making a pinup model where I do the entire thing asymmetrically. It was just an experiment. Let's see, YouTube Shane Olson pinup. Let's see if I can find it. No, that's not it. It used to just pop up here. There it is. So this one right here, I basically blocked her out in the sitting pose like this. And then I just kept going. I posed her in the blockout stage, and then I just kept going with it. And I just modeled the entire thing asymmetrically. And it was interesting. It was an interesting exercise, but I'm not a huge fan of it because it's good and it's bad. So what is his name? Kent Melton. So Kent Melton, let me show you guys. I hope you guys don't mind if we go on a little tangent here. So Kent Melton is a guy that you guys should know who he is because he is a fantastic traditional sculptor. Okay, so yeah, just look at Kent's stuff. He does stuff for Disney. He does stuff just for everyone, and fabulous. I suggest you study his work. It's just amazing. And one of the suggestions that he gave was try and turn off symmetry and see what kind of life that brings into your character. So yeah, because he doesn't get to have symmetry when he's doing traditional sculpts, right? It's just he gets the clay and that's it. There's no symmetry. So there is, everybody's face is asymmetrical and it's totally different. Even though there's some similarities on both sides, it's asymmetrical. And you can kind of start to find that when you turn symmetry off. So if you feel like you're doing a caricature and you want to turn it off, then do it. You can even save a version off if you're worried about it. If you're ever worried about anything, as far as like, should I do this? Should I not? It's best to test it and experiment with it than it is to not do it at all. So if you're ever worried about it, save off a version and just go for it. Just try it and see where you end up. Okay, so this is a caricature that he did of himself, which is great. But this is what he looks like. He has these really cool steampunk glasses, and he works for Leica as a contractor. So up in Oregon on the Leica films, and he does all of these maquettes, which are super duper cool. And he comes to CTN once in a while. I've seen him twice there, and I just hang out and nerd out with him. So he's a really cool guy to talk to. And so Kent Milton, check him out, follow him. Super cool stuff. All right. Yep, Ariel, that's true. Symmetry is perfect and asymmetry is appeal. It's true. If you want to get away from that CG look, then turn off symmetry. And I usually turn off symmetry near the end, and also my pose. Whenever I take a character into a pose, that is by its nature just turning off symmetry, because that's where you start to add the life and break it, and you're going to start to add asymmetry into the expression and all that kind of stuff. So basically that happens for me when I go to pose the character. Can you still retopologize if it's asymmetrical? You can, but it starts to get difficult. Basically what you do is you retopologize everything that is symmetrical first, like inside of 3D Coat. Say if your character had a bandolier running across his chest in an asymmetrical way. Okay, so you would retopologize everything that is not that bandolier. So say his gloves and his legs and his head and everything like that. And then in 3D Coat, you would actually make it mirrored. You mirror it out and weld it together, and then bring it back in and then finish the rest. And you would finish it all asymmetrically. So you turn mirroring off and do the retopology that way. And it's a little easier to retopologize something that is asymmetrical inside of Maya, because Maya is just either it's on or it's off, and you can just kind of work through it. And Maya will ignore the parts that are symmetrical, or it will pay attention to the parts that are symmetrical, kind of like ZBrush. I can turn off symmetry anytime I want inside of ZBrush and work on one side and ignore the other side, and then I can turn symmetry back on, and it doesn't mess symmetry up. Like the ability to work in symmetry is not messed up, I guess, is what I'm trying to say there. So anyway, yeah, so I would say work in symmetry as far as you can, because you can, right? Because it's a tool, you should use it. So take advantage of symmetry, but also use asymmetry to your advantage when you're trying to breathe life into your character near the end or in the pose. So I would avoid retopologizing a character that's been posed. So that's something you don't want to do. There's no reason to retopologize a posed character, because usually a posed character, you're either going to render it, which you don't need to retopologize it for, or you're going to 3D print it, which you don't need to retopologize for. If you're going to pose a game character and stick it into a model viewer, then most likely you're going to retopologize the neutral pose, then pose that low resolution model, and then put that into the model viewer, which, you're not going to retopologize that posed figure anyway, if that makes sense. Okay. Is that a good explanation for you guys? Does that make sense? Okay. I love these questions, you guys. These are questions that I can answer that I can't answer on like the Pixelogic live stream. I can't really like divert and go talk about Kent Milton. Kent Milton has some great Great stories too. He's a good. He tells a lot of good stories about his the characters that he sculpts. I also have a low poly game model pose. Since it's rigged, and then bring it into ZBrush and divide it there to add HD detail as long as it's waterproof. Yeah, you can. That's kind of the Mudbox way to go. If that's kind of the older traditional, let's take a low resolution model. Well, I should say that is when people just started getting used to high resolution characters, and they already had all of these low resolution assets, right? It's like, I already have this game character, it's already rigged, and I want to add detail to it. So what do? I take it into ZBrush, subdivide it up, and start cutting detail into it, which there's nothing wrong with that, but that's kind of the Mudbox way of doing things, and that is how Mudbox wants you to work, because Mudbox hooks up with Maya almost one-to-one, and you can actually pull a rigged character from Maya into Mudbox, detail it up just like that, keeping all the layers and all the textures and everything, and then bringing it back into Maya. But my preferred workflow, and like I said, there's nothing wrong with that. It's totally fine. But my preferred workflow is to create your high resolution character inside of ZBrush first, then do all of your detailing and everything inside of ZBrush, and then build your low resolution character on top of that. So that's why I teach it that way, because that's kind of the reverse of the other way. It's the reverse of taking a low and making it high. So yeah, it's just Mudbox is still alive. I think so. I don't know. Anyway, let's see. Lucky's asking if you were to approach your pinup now in the detailing phase, would you still union the shapes and Z-remesh it to add detail levels? Yes, I would. So if I was to do that, here, let me click answer live. And if you guys didn't know, there's a Q&A section like down in the Zoom, because this is a Zoom webinar. There's a Q&A section. You guys, if you want to like focus my eyes on your question specifically, you can put it in there, and I can see it. It kind of draws attention to itself. So anyway, yeah, Lucky is asking if I were to approach your pinup now. Okay, if I was to do it again that way with asymmetry, I would absolutely block it out just like I do the characters now, and then pose it in the blockout phase, and then I would use remesh by union to stick it all together, and then subdivide it, or not subdivide it, Z-remesh it to get a nicer base. But now I would probably use Sculptress Pro mode in the face and not try and push it so hard with the Z-remesher. I think that pinup was Dynameshed, which was really difficult to do because it actually stuck her fingers together, and it stuck her hand to her thigh or whatever. It didn't leave them separated. And the best way to get a model to be more believable is to keep your appendages separate. So don't stick them to your model, because it's going to make this weird channel that's going to catch light where the arms are sticking to the body. It's better to have them out to start with, do your Z-remeshing, your subdividing and everything, and then put it down. Make sure you don't either remesh by unionize it or Dynamesh it together, because yeah, you'll be fighting it, and then you'll want to try and pull it apart later, and it's just kind of a pain in the butt. So anyway, yeah. Okay, so hopefully that answered your question, Lucky. Okay, I keep saying I'm going to do these bands on these boots, but you guys keep asking questions. So, all right, let's do it for reals. I want this, not Z-remesher guides, topology brush. Okay, I'm going to duplicate these boots off and then solo it like this, and then turn off symmetry and delete one of these. Okay, then I can delete hidden. So I just have one. I just want to work on one. I really doubt that other courses that cost $700 you guys linked has as much content as Shane just based off these constant streams of info. Lucky, can you record a video of you saying that and send it to me, please? Thank you very much. I'm glad. I love it. So, okay, here we go. I'm just going to draw a line all the way around this boot and then connect it right there like that, and do it again. I'm making some marketing material right now, and it's kind of like have you guys ever watched a webinar? Like, I'm trying to make kind of a webinar, but it's more of a presentation. I'm trying to get people to, like, it's weird because I hate the word webinar. I don't like webinars. I don't like to try and just do that cheesy sales stuff, you know? And so I'm trying to figure out a way to give people the information and tell people about the course without being like that cheesy sales guy. You know what I mean? Okay, for this part, so this is the band that wraps around the boot. And for this part, the metal bands that kind of connect to these typically will go down, around, and underneath the boot, like, let's see, like this. Okay, so it'll go underneath and around the heel. So I want to kind of aim this down to where that heel is and have it wrap like that. And I'll do the same thing to the other side. Okay. And then I'll solo it again. Thanks, Stephen. I try. If I'm not, it's because somebody told me not to, and I didn't, and then I took their advice, and yeah. So I try. All right, now I'm just trying to get even squares all the way around here. And maybe on this front one, well, maybe I'll cut this one into, and then once I get these in place, then I can move them around and adjust them. So this, you don't have to be married to what you're going to lay down here. You just want to get it into place and give you something to manipulate. And it looks like this design, the metal actually goes underneath the sole of the boot instead of around the sole of the boot. So we're going to tuck it in. So we want to make, that's kind of a weird one. There we go. Under my hat, I have nothing. There's nothing under my hat. A jam sandwich. You want to see? I have no hair. Nothing. I have no hairs. There you go. I have no chance because my mom's dad was a cue ball. He had no hair. Okay, so we want to keep this single-sided panels. So I'm just going to turn the draw size down to 1 and then tap on the surface. And it looks like it didn't make anything, but you can look down inside there and you can see it. So if I turn off dynamic subdivisions, you can see that it made it. So let's hide this boot. Whoops, come on, hide it. And now this is what we're left with, and this is what we want. So I'm going to delete hidden. I used to have too much hair. I did. I did. Yep. I lost one for every model I made. Oh, funny. You guys. I used to have a ton of hair and I abused it. That's probably why I don't have any now. Okay, so now we can see the strap. And we can inflate it over the top of this a bit. All right, so let's go down to deformation and just inflate it like this. So I'm essentially inflating it the thickness that I want it to be when I actually add thickness to it. So that might be too much. Let's try it again, just a little bit less. Maybe, let's turn this on. Maybe this much, because it's going to shrink when we turn on dynamic. Okay, so that's probably about the same place I had it before. Oh well. Okay, then move brush, and we'll just straighten these guys up. You guys, you're killing me. Okay. There's the band. We got the band. It's true, Donna. I'll miss you when I'm gone. Okay, I want another panel or another loop through here. So let's insert edge loop. As easy as that. I want it down here. And then I want to grab these two verts. But another way you can do it, because I want to move those two verts together, is I want to just mask those two off, invert that mask, then use Gizmo to pull it down underneath the shoe there. Okay, and then while it's still masked, I can go and just adjust it so it actually works and flows better. This is a little too sharp. Let's turn on dynamic and you can kind of see what it's going to look like. But creases they're kind of giving me a false view of what it's going to look like, but pretty close. Okay, and then I can do it again to this other side. Just insert an edge loop right here. And another way to do it, other than masking off the 2 points like this, that's probably the easiest way. But another way to do it is go back to your Z modeler and hover over this edge and say transpose and click it. Come on. Click it there. And it does the same thing, but now the gizmo is aligned and centered in that edge, which is kind of nice if you want to specifically move it based on the alignment of that thing. And turn it. I just blurred the mask a little bit so I can get in there and adjust this down. And then clear it. Just kind of move these around. Notice how low I'm keeping everything, because this is just a band. I don't need a ton of information there. And then I can do a mirror and weld. I better turn off local symmetry. If you ever mirror and weld and it accidentally looks like this, let's see, bonk. You're like, what happened? Why didn't it go over here? Because local symmetry, it also works on mirror and weld. So you'll want to turn that off and then hit mirror and weld, and then it'll come over here. All right, David, we'll have a good day at work, man. Take care. Thanks for hanging out. Okay, and you can test what it's going to look like with thickness if you want to. You can come in here and just hit Z modeler, hover over here, and just say extrude polygroup all, and just push it in, and then hit D, and it's going to look something like that. But then you can go in here and crease these edges to make them sharp instead of kind of be rounded out like that. But for now, I'm just going to leave them so we can keep moving on. Keep on keeping on. That's what my friend Mel always says. All right. Yeah, Donna, right? it's you can totally just make things as simple as you possibly can. That's kind of the goal. Is just simplify it. I showed you guys the Ant-Man, right? I loaded up Ant-Man. Do you guys want to see him again? Let me see. I gotta plug him in. Let me see if there's another character that's kind of built the same way. Because one of the students was asking about it, and I was like, can you show me, go back? And I can't remember which one Ant-Man was in, so I'll pull him up again. Let me see here. Greenlit. There's so much stuff in here. I gotta let me find it. Okay. Ant-Man. I won't even search for it. Okay, here it is. Ant-Man. That's not it. He's not. Oh, here we go. Well, that's Vision. Maybe Ultron. You guys want to see Ultron? Ultron T-pose. Here we go. Sorry, it's set to read only. I don't know how all of these got read only. Okay, drum roll. Here we go. Ultron. Okay, so here's Ultron. Let's see how many subtools he has. Looks like 33 subtools. I'm trying to remember who made Ultron. I think it was Ian. Was it Ian? I can't remember. Yeah, look at these pieces here. Now these cuts. This was before we knew as much as we did, I guess, because these are made with Dynamesh and actually cut in. How long did he take to make? I have no idea. I really don't. But, so check this out. This is just low, look how low resolution this is. I just want to point it out. This is just made of all of these low resolution parts that have been creased. See all the creasing on here? And it's just been built, so basically what you can do is just make a temporary piece of geometry and draw the geometry on the top. You can use just a really simple, well, let me just show you. Yeah, it's it's incredibly simple, you guys. Okay, let me take this and I'm going to subdivide it a couple times and delete the lower. I'm going to make just a temporary piece of geometry that I want to use to draw on with something, okay? So say I'm going to make two spheres like this. And then I'll make a cylinder. Let's see. Well, I'm not going to make it. I'll just use these two shapes. I'm going to keep it simple, okay? Say I want to make a piece of armor that it kind of comes down. Say this was a shoulder, and let's put a pinch right through here. Just want to pinch it right through here, and then come down, and then that's it. Okay, so now what I can do is I'm going to take my topology brush. I'm going to draw on the surface right here. Let's see, I'm going to turn off symmetry just for a second. Draw this geometry. Draw one right along that pinched edge. Draw another one right along this seam. and then another one where this armor is going to end, right? And then just draw lines down here, lines down here. And then we're going to make it not so simple. So we're going to draw one down here, 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 across, maybe 2 across here, and 1 right there. And this is even more intense than the ones that you saw. But here we go. We have this created now, right? Then I'm going down to just tap on the surface. Come on, there we go. And then I'm going to invert. Come on, invert. Okay, so now we're left with this. Delete it. So my spheres are gone, the temporary geometry is gone. Now let's come in here, and this is what we're left with. I probably shouldn't have put 2 in here. So we can go, I'm gonna collapse this. Collapse polyloop, and just click on this, and it will make it go away, and then I'm gonna slide this up. So slide edge loop complete up, just like this. And we can go through here and tune these just to make them look cleaner. You have to be careful on what plane you're moving these vertices on. You have to constantly adjust the plane so when you move the vertice, it's moving along the plane of the camera. Okay? That's why I keep going like tweaking it, tweaking the camera, and then tweaking the vertice, just so I'm moving it along the plane that I want it on. Okay, now what I can do is I'm going to set my creasing. Well, let me add the thickness first. Okay, we're going to add the thickness right now. So I'll go to my Z modeler and extrude polygroup all. It's gonna flip the normals since I'm going in. Okay, but here's the thickness. And how do you flip the normals back? Well, you go down to display properties and hit flip, just like that. And now these are flipped. And since I extruded it, it did shrink it slightly as I was pushing it in. So if I wanted to, I'd go back around the edge, or I would just barely offset it and then move it with the gizmo rather than extruding it all the way. You watched me do that, I think, either last week or the week before, something like that. That way I get a straighter bevel. Okay, anyway, then what you do is you come along here, this edge right here, and then I want to crease it. But I want to clear all of these first, okay? I'm going to clear all of the creasing first. Okay, so uncrease all. Now I can use my polygroups to my advantage. So I want to make some polygroups here. So I'm going to go polygroup, a single poly, and just, I'm going to make this one purple. And then let's make this one, I'll click and then hit Alt to make a new polygroup. Okay, so this one can be green. I'll leave that one yellow. I can make this one green as well. If I want the edges to go along the inside, then I'll make this one like a yellow. And I'm just making polygroups because I'm gonna wrap the creasing around the edges of the polygroups. Okay, so let's change this one to like this green. This, then this. Okay, so see how I have polygroups everywhere that I want a crease to be. So I want them on the corners, I want them here, on the edges, on the corners, and all the way around, wrapping between those 3 pieces, okay? Let me clean this up just a little bit. Okay, so now that I have that, what I can do is go to my crease level. All right, thanks, Stephen. Take care, see you later, man. And then I can go to geometry and go to crease. Well, it's got to save it first. Saving. Okay, go to crease, and then see this crease level. This is what I teach inside the course. I talk about crease level. Let's go down to a 3, okay? Now, when I hit crease by polygroup, it's going to respect that crease level, and it's going to crease everything at a level 3. Okay, so let's hit crease by polygroup border. I'll click that, and you can see it put a crease around everything. Okay, now if I hit D for dynamic subdivisions, check that out. That's essentially a piece of armor right there. Okay, so it's all nice and clean. And then if I hit apply to actually apply that subdivision, then if I hit Control D again, and again, crease level 3 will create this nice soft creased edge like this. See that? So this is what I'm talking about. If I wanted to have this creased a little more than the edges, I'd have to go in there and try to figure out the crease levels. You know what I mean? And go back and forth and stuff like that. So anyway, this is essentially how all of the armor on the hard surfaces were built. So like all of the armor on the Hulkbuster character, right? It was all made like this. Now, you do need to pay attention as well to thick and thin, especially if it's cloth. So clothing is going to have certain weight to it in certain areas, and it'll be pinching in other areas. It'll be thinner. So like say a cape, when it comes up to the shoulder, it's going to be thinnest where the cloth is being pulled tight, or where the hair is being pulled tight. And it's going to be the loosest or fattest or thickest on the areas that's like hanging. So when clothing or cloth is drooping, it's going to be the thickest at the bottommost area of that cloth, if that makes sense. So how you do that is you would come in here, say if this was cloth or something like that, you could well, let's say I didn't add the subdivision levels yet. Let's go back. And this is why we wait until the very end to apply our subdivision levels, because we want to make sure that we can make up all of our adjustments first. So let me roll back to, let's see. I want to make sure, okay, this doesn't have subdivision levels. I want it to have the creasing though. Okay, crease. And this is, I applied it right there. So one step back. Okay, now that I have all these polygroups, you can use these polygroups to your advantage. You can have Gizmo showing like this, and hold down Control and tap on one of these polygroups, and you can see that it isolated the mask around that polygroup, right? So what you can do now is you can just grab this and pull it out as a unit, as a whole piece, which will start to create that thick edge along here. And then you go up here and you just pull this whole thing in to create that thin edge up top. So there's your thin to thick as it goes down. So now when I turn on subdivision levels and hide it, it kind of has, it's thinner up here and it's thicker as it goes down. Not that you would do that with armor, but I'm saying if it was cloth or something like that. So, all right. Yeah, you can totally do Ultron now. So would you do the same for clothes after it's just on a flat plane? Do you go extruding inwards afterwards? You can do inwards or outwards. It doesn't matter if you extrude in or out. It doesn't matter. Let me show you one more character. Let's see. Avengers, Loki. So I made Loki. And let me show you the toy pose. No worries, no worries. It's all about learning. As long as you're learning, who cares, right? Okay, here it comes. Here comes Loki. All right, Loki. So I sculpted Loki, and here is his cape. So check out his cape and how detailed and everything that's going on right now with this cape. It's got wrinkles, it's got flow, it's got all that stuff, silhouette. See how it's wrapping around here? See how it's flipping? It's getting caught by the wind. And when I say be bold with your wrinkles, this is what I'm talking about. Just make a decision, put in your wrinkles, and make them bold. Like go big with them. Don't be subtle with them. You're not going to see them. If you're just like, maybe a cloth wrinkle here or here, just be very simple. Don't do a ton. Just do a few. Just a few. Okay? And they all start wherever the cloth is being pulled from. So see how they're all pinching right up near his shoulders, and then it's going out. And you can also see, well, somewhat, it's kind of thick right here, and it goes to thin as it goes down and back. Okay? So let me show you the cape itself. Okay? So this cape is built exactly like that armor that I just showed you. Okay, you can see that it's just built this way. So essentially what I did was, let me go down to here. This is the base of it. This is the cape base. And that is what I started with without thickness. So if you can just imagine this white piece having no thickness, this is how I started. And then as you go up, and that's when I started bringing in all of the wrinkles on top of that, is when I added the thickness, set my creases, and then I started cutting in all of my cloth lines, if that makes sense. So I use subdivision levels when it's time. That is the key. When it's time, not in the beginning. So first, that's the biggest thing that you should get into your head, okay, is when it's time. Most of the students that I see, they put subdivision levels on like day one, when it's, when you're very first starting out. You need to wait until the cape flow is there. So here, let me just duplicate this. Duplicate. Okay, just so I can show you, let me delete the higher levels and just have it like this. Come on, there we go. Okay, so just so I can show you what I'm talking about, I'm going to delete the hidden, and this is what I made first, is this, okay? This was the cape. Let me show you. Let me hide the original. Okay, so this is what I manipulated and modeled and got the flow and the silhouette working first. This is what I used. So I got the twist and you can see it all there, right? All the flow is there. It's happening. It's going up around his shoulders. It's blowing the wind, all that stuff before I add any thickness, okay? And at this point, I will even say, I'll ask my art director to come take a look at it. Say, is this looking how you want it to look? Is this flowing correctly like this? So we'll look at it from the front like this, even in perspective. We can turn perspective on. And it's like, is this kind of how you want it to look from the side? Is this working? And then he'll go, yeah, that's looking good. It even has the wrinkle break in here. Sorry. You can see the wrinkle break right there. See that right there? It's in there. That's when I use the pinch brush to make it break when you're looking at it from the front. So it has all the information you need. It even has this cloth wrinkle going from corner to corner right here. Can you see that? It's right there. So I use a combination of the move brush, the move elastic, and the snake hook brush, as well as the cloth brush to get it to look like this. You just got to kind of work it, right? So was the cape made from a primitive shape or topo lines? It was made from topo lines. So it was made just how I showed you how to make that armor. I made a temporary piece of geometry that I was going to draw the cape on. So essentially what I did was I made a sphere, and I started with his back, and I put the sphere up and around his shoulders, and then pulled it down and started to kind of see the flow of the sphere. The sphere was like encompassing his whole body, but I only cared about the surface that I was going to draw on. You have to kind of see where it's going to be and just put temporary geometry there and make that flow happen already. Because if you're going to start with a plane, you know, just a plane of geometry and try and get it to that shape, you're going to cry, right? You're going to fight and go, why is it not working? Why can't I get the flow? Because if you have a sphere and you're using a larger move brush and you're moving it into that position before you draw it on there, you're going to have a much easier time getting that shape to flow around that, you know, what you want it to look like, especially when you get down to this, right? This shape right here, that would be super hard to kind of get with, you know, with moving a plane around and just like trying to muscle it into place. Instead, it's much easier if I had temporary geometry that was already doing kind of that thing. It was acting as kind of the wind underneath the cape, and then I just drew the cape on top of it. It's so much easier to build armor and clothing that way. So yeah, I just used a giant smudge ball. That's the best until I like the surface. Giant smudge ball. I love it. I love it. Yes, yes. It doesn't have to be as hard as you think it should be. You just need to use the tools that you have available to you to help you get to the end point, right? That's what it's all about, is helping you get there, okay? So, and this staff and this bracer and stuff like that, this bracer was just, I made temporary geometry, I drew it, and then I gave it thickness, and then I drew topology on top of that and gave that thickness. And you can see how it's all still separated and it's just laying on top of each other. It's not anything super special, you know, it's just some geometry laying on top of each other. And same with this like staff thing. This is actually, yeah, it's just kind of pieces wrapped around. I think this staff was me experimenting with panel loops, which if I was going to do it again, it would remain separate pieces. It wouldn't be, yeah. Do I use Marvelous now? Honestly, I don't use it much. And the reason why is because if think about this cape, I couldn't do that cape in Marvelous. It wouldn't be designed like I want it to be designed. Okay, so this is a designed cape, where Marvelous gives you a realistic cape. Okay, you can add wind, you could pin it to his shoulders, but you can kind of have an idea of what it's going to look like. It's not going to be billowing like that. It's not going to be flipping like that. It's not going to be twisting like this. Marvelous just won't give you that. It will give you realism. So how I use Marvelous, if I do use Marvelous, is if I'm struggling with cloth and I don't know where I want to put the wrinkles. I don't know how cloth would react in those areas. Say if I had a t-shirt and it was tucked into some pants and I wanted to see how that t-shirt was going to make folds down by the pants, okay? I could set that up in Marvelous and run the simulator and say, oh, okay, I can see how those wrinkles are going to happen now. Now I go back and I use just the certain wrinkles that I want to pull from that to create my design. Because honestly, Marvelous creates way too many wrinkles, in my opinion. Way too many for a stylized character. It makes great wrinkles for a realistic character. If you're going for ultra realism, that is the way to go. But if you're going for a super hyper stylized character, then there's no reason to use it other than another point of reference to give you an idea of maybe where that wrinkle would go or how it would happen. Does that make sense? So, all right. Okay, so back to sirloin after all that. Okay, we didn't get very far today, but I think the information is flowing today. So I love the questions you guys are asking. So let's talk about, before we move on, I just want to talk about, before next session, think about how would Shane build this big bulbous piece of armor and these shoulder things, pauldrons or whatever they're called? How would I do it? Right? I would make a big sphere around his entire body, elongate it slightly, and I may even put in a cylinder that will represent this neck with a little pinch point on the front. So I will have something to draw on to connect that neck piece to the metal. And I might even do that with the arm holes too, where it has that little bead all the way around the outside, because I want to get a nice rounded transition between the two of those. And I will make a big sphere and just wrap it around his whole body and just retopologize it. It's so much easier to get to where you need to go if you have temporary geometry there in the first place to then draw around. And I can do that same thing with this shoulder piece. I can use 3 pieces of temporary geometry to make this piece. So let's just talk about that before we go here. So let me grab my little annotate. Okay. So I will make a sphere that is like this, right? It's temporary underneath there. Then I'll probably make a cylinder that's like this, that's going to form, that I can then draw this little piece on. See this little piece right here? I can draw that on the cylinder. And then I'll put another piece of temporary geometry to make this thing on, right? So I can make 3 pieces that's going to form that shell and then just draw the topology on top of it, right? So I can do it that way, just like I made the armor piece that I showed you. If that makes sense. I just made a total mess of that. And I don't care. Okay. All right. So Keith, what are you saying? Is using circular slice a noob trap? Circular slice? Yes, stay away from circular slice. Okay, why stay away from it? Because you cannot control it as well as you can control drawing the topology that you want, okay? And on occasion, drawing the topology on the surface of your character, occasionally it will give you good enough topology in the end to actually use that as your low resolution game character geometry when you're ready. So maybe there's parts in there that you won't even have to retopologize because the topology that you made to create that thing is good enough that you can just use it for your end piece. So I'm really, really trying to get Brad Bolander here in my office to do an interview, because he did 1/5 of these characters that's behind me right here. And he approaches his models more of a traditional modeler way, where he will build each piece individually, and he likes to keep his geometry super duper clean as he's working the entire way. I don't know if he still works that way, but he did all through the Disney days. And yeah, he's just like super duper clean geometry guy. He'll build everything, and then he'll take it out to Maya, build it, and bring it back in. And yeah, he's just all over the place with that stuff. So, all right, you guys, we didn't get too much further today, but like I said, I think the information was pretty good today. So I'm so glad that don't apologize for derailing. That is what I want to know, because there is so much to cover. How do I cover it all? How would I fit what I just said today into the course in a realistic, organized way? You know what I mean? It's like how it boils down to each individual case. And I do teach the part of the geometry that I just showed you, how to make temporary stuff and then draw on top and then make armor from it. but it's such a light explanation that I don't go deep enough to actually say, and you can use it here, and you can use it here, and you can use it here. You know what I mean? It's like all these different ways that you can go about using it in different places. So, oh, anyway, yeah, I did. I'm going to show you where that's at, I think. Let me see. All right, go to my library, 3D character workshop. I think it's under character detailing. The costuming right here. Right here. This is where I talk about it right here. So I draw on top of the boot and then pop it off like this. But like I said, I'm just showing you how to do this piece, and it's not really, it's not deep enough, I guess. I didn't take it far enough. But anyway, what I showed you today is essentially just this. This is the exact same thing. But I leave, I don't talk about Dynamesh. I talk about dynamic subdivision right here. But this is essentially what I showed you today. Lucky, no, that's totally, there's no problem with that either. No problem with that. So Lucky was saying, to be honest, Shane, I'm scared of going to the tutorials these days since you're giving so much new information. I'm not sure what is old info and what isn't. So yeah, a canon guide, right? What's gonna come along? So I almost consider this live streaming to be 3D Character Workshop 2.0 in a way, because I'm walking you through piece by piece, at 2 hours at a time. So hopefully you can just follow along, and it will kind of reveal how you should be building your characters, or not how you should be, but different ways you can be building your characters, different ideas as far as like getting to where you need to be. So I'm going to be going live again next Friday. So I'm going to be in New York Friday to Wednesday. So I'm not going to be doing a live stream like this next Wednesday, and I will not be doing a live Q&A this Friday because I'll be in New York. But I am streaming on the Pixelogic live channel on Sunday night on Pixelogic's Twitch channel. So I'm going to be doing a demo, and they're going to film it and be displaying it there. So I will go live for you guys next Friday for the Q&A session, and I'll let you guys know ahead of time so you can send questions. So. All right, guys, it's been fun. I will see you guys I'll see you guys next Friday. All right, take care. And Corinne, I'll send you an email. All right, take care. See you guys. Have a good one. All right, see you.